Hi, this is Tutor Nick P, and this is Suffix 52. The suffix is OFF as a word ending. Okay, somebody wants a screenshot, do it right now. Let's get right to it. All right, the suffix OFF, is added usually to some activities to imply a type of a competition or contest, especially an event that is a tournament, a final tiebreaker, etc. Okay, let's continue. All right, we got several examples here to show just how it's used. Here's the first one, bake-off. A baking contest in which competitors are going head-to-head against each other involving cooking, especially baked dishes or baked types of food. All right, and here's our example. There was a British TV show called The Great British Bake Off, which had contestants baking dishes in a competition. All right, let's continue. Dance-off, a competition in which dancing couples, etc., compete in a dancing contest. Here's our example. That nightclub is going to hold a dance-off in which 30 contestants try to win prizes in a break-dancing concert. Okay. Next one, playoff. Very common in sports. A short series of games to select two teams to move on to the championship. And we got a second meaning here also. A final game needed to break a tie. All right, so here's our first one. Baseball has two sets of playoffs in each league to determine the final two teams to go to the World Series. Yes. And then our second example, these two teams had to have a special playoff game because the two teams were tied for first place in their division. That doesn't happen very often, but it's not impossible. I've seen it happen a couple of times where the two teams are tied for first in their division, so they had to have another game to the season just to determine which of those two teams would go on to the playoffs. Okay, let's continue. Our runoff, a second election due to the fact that no one candidate got more than 50% of the vote. Yeah, this depends on the type of election, but there's a lot of elections that are like that, where they didn't just have two candidates, they probably had like 3, 4, 5 candidates or something like that, and the winner has to at least get more than 50% of the vote. So the first time around, they might not have gotten 50%. Maybe they only got like 30 or 40 or something like that. And then they narrow it down to the two top ones so that, of course, somebody's got to go over 50% the next time around. So that's called a runoff. That's a runoff election. All right, let's continue. All right, so in the last two presidential elections, they were forced to have a runoff election because no single candidate could get more than 50% of the vote, at least the first time around. And they got a lot less than 50. They were like in the 20s. So they must have had a lot of candidates running. All right, let's continue. All right, a cheer-off, a cheerleading competition, of course. That city holds an annual cheer-off event for some of the best cheerleading teams. Okay, good. And our last one here, a sign-off, or not a sign-off, a sing-off, a competition between two or more singers in which they compete against each other. And our example is that nightclub held a sing-off karaoke contest in which the audience cheered for the winner. So whoever cheered the loudest, that's who they might choose as the winner. And, maybe they had a process of elimination too. Maybe they had them sing several songs as well. Okay, anyway, I hope you got it. I hope it was clear. I hope it was informative. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.